Previously, Zan had helped Li unlock her divine weapon, and she was eager to use it right away, but after creating a pill, Li had too much spirit energy and asked for Zhan's help to control it. As Zan held Yue, he started to feel drained by their energy, but both Li and Yue were pleased. Yue showed Li a picture of someone she'd seen at a famous nightclub. They went to the club and talked to the bartender, who reacted when Zan said the name Yingwei, asking him to repeat it. Now to this week's chapter. He looked at the bartender and confirmed that he was indeed looking for Yingwei. Everyone in the club stopped and turned their attention towards Zan as they heard the name Yingwei. Murmurs spread through the crowd, and a few people exchanged uneasy glances. Some wondered aloud if he truly understood the weight of the name he had just spoken. The bartender raised a bottle high, his face lighting up with a wide grin, and shouted to the entire club, "This guest just said Yingwei, which means they're treating everyone here tonight." Instantly, the crowd erupted into cheers and applause. Excitement buzzed through the air as people began celebrating, many turning to Zan with smiles and laughter, clearly thrilled about the unexpected free drinks. Zan turned to face the cheering crowd, his brows furrowed in confusion. He looked back at the bartender and questioned what he meant by that. The bartender chuckled and leaned against the counter, explaining, "A customer came in yesterday and bought a large number of drinks on credit. Before leaving, they said someone would show up today, mentioned the name Yingwei, and cover the whole tab. Oh, and they also said you'd be reserving the place for everyone here." Hearing this, Yue's expression turned worried. She thought to herself how mean it was for someone to set Zan up like this. However, Zan glanced back at her and smiled faintly, reassuring her, "It's fine. This has to be Yifan's doing." Just then, the bartender reached under the counter and pulled out a small, intricately sealed box. He placed it on the bar and slid it towards Zan, adding, "That person left this behind and said it was for you. I tried to open it earlier, but for some reason, it wouldn't budge." Zhan's gaze sharpened as he studied the box. A faint energy radiated from it, and he could tell there was more to it than met the eye. Without hesitation, Zan placed his hand on the box. A soft glow emanated as the seal seemed to recognize him, and it clicked open with ease. Inside, he found a neatly folded piece of paper. He picked it up and unfolded it, glancing at the writing. "This is a note," he remarked, holding it steady as both Yue and Li leaned over his shoulder, eager to see what was written. Their curiosity mirrored the tension in the room as Zan began to read aloud. The note read, "In February of the 23rd year of the Zerg disaster, Via Ming, leader of the first squad of the Guardians of Deep Blue City, returned from a successful exploration of a nearby site and was rewarded by the Guardian organization. The entire team celebrated at the Breeze Dance Hall. In March of the same year, Vi Ming was transferred to the front lines of the war for special reasons and was never seen or heard from again. That same month, Vice Captain Zhao, who took over as acting captain of the squad. The asexual reproduction cycle of the Eclipse Zerg mother is 1 month. Each month, it splits into a single zygote. If the mother is killed, all the daughter forms will die as well." Hearing the information, Li was confused about what Zhan's teammate had left behind and questioned what the note meant. She glanced at Zhan, waiting for an explanation. Zhan explained that it takes the queen a month to create a parasite, and since it started in February, there were a total of 7 parasites. Li and Yue both nodded, understanding the situation. However, Yue started to worry as she thought back to when she met Yingwei. She questioned if Yingwei had already been infected, recalling that Li had mentioned Yingwei visited the nightclub often. Zhan didn't hear Yue's concern as he waved at them and said he needed to use the bathroom quickly, asking them to wait for him. He found the bathroom and headed inside, looking for an empty spot. As he walked in, he noticed someone else already there. Zhan rushed past the person in a hurry, bumping into him by accident. He quickly apologized, stating he was in a hurry and needed to take a leak. He made it in time and felt relieved, but the other person suddenly stopped and sniffed the air, puzzled by the smell. He glared at Zhan, his face filled with anger, and shouted that he didn't like that smell. Suddenly, the man rushed at Zhan, furious, shouting that he couldn't stand the smell. Zhan had just finished, but he calmly looked at the incoming attack. His eyes glowed a brilliant gold as he realized that he hadn't expected to encounter a parasite so quickly. Without hesitation, he lifted his hand, his body glowing with golden energy. With a single motion, He released a wave of pressure, sending the man flying backward, completely overwhelmed by the force. Suddenly, a small object shot out from the man's head and darted straight for Zahn. With a quick motion, Zahn effortlessly caught it in his hand. As he examined the creature, he realized it was an eclipse Zerg parasite. The creature screeched in anger, but Zahn simply crushed it with his grip, watching as it was obliterated. He thought to himself that one was dead, but there were still 6 more left. Just then, Yue and Li arrived, sensing that Zahn was channeling his energy and became immediately concerned. They hurried over and asked if he was alright, questioning what had happened. Zahn, still focused on the energy swirling in his body, glanced at them and explained that he had just encountered a parasite. He reassured them that he was fine, but there were still more to deal with. Yue then pointed out that one of the parasites was dead and questioned where the others could be. Li, looking at the man on the ground, explained that he was the nightclub owner. She added, based on what she had read, the bad guys usually linger around the main character, which meant that the owner's staff and friends were likely to have been parasitized as well. Zahn told Li that she only had theories about what had happened, but it was a good start. He then commented that they should leave and continue looking for more information and clues to track down the remaining parasites. Suddenly, a man holding a weapon lunged at Zahn, screaming that he had come to end him. Zahn remained calm, easily recognizing that the attack was too slow to land a hit. He moved ever so slightly to his right, watching the weapon miss, and thought to himself that his power had improved. He was curious as to why, but knew it wasn't the time to dwell on it. Zahn countered with a quick left side kick, sending the man flying back. The man screamed in agony from the pain, but just as Zahn prepared to follow up, an object popped out of the man's head. It darted toward the exit where the crowd was, but Zahn wasted no time. He raised his hand and unleashed a powerful energy blast, obliterating the parasite in an instant, turning it to pieces before it could reach anyone. Li watched in amazement at Zhahn's strength, impressed by his abilities as it was her first time seeing him fight. She wondered how he could be so powerful and then asked him if that had been another Eclipse Zerg parasite. Zahn nodded in agreement as he looked at the remains of the parasite, but Yue suddenly called out. She looked down at the man who had attacked Zahn and said that she had seen him before. He was one of Zhao Hu's subordinates. Hearing the new information, Zahn began to question aloud, wondering if all the people infected by the parasites were connected to this nightclub. The owner had been infected, Yingwei must have been as well, and now this person. He stated that all these people shared a connection with one individual, the acting captain of the first squad in Deep Blue City, Zhao Hu. Zahn suddenly gritted his teeth as he realized that Zhao Hu was the source of the parasites. He wondered if the queen was with him, which would make sense since Zhao Hu had been with the previous captain on the front lines, where they could have made contact with a parasite. He then looked at the other two and stated that he knew where Yifen was going. Meanwhile, in Zhao Hu's office, he was enjoying himself as he worked up a sweat, commenting that it was truly warm and tight. A lady smiled and said that Captain Zhao was so powerful and that she liked him very much. As Zhao Hu was enjoying himself, the door to his office was suddenly kicked open. He looked up, his expression turning to anger as he wondered who had the nerve to interrupt his fun. It was Yifen, standing in the doorway, glaring at him. Yifen screamed his name, his voice full of fury, stating that they had unfinished business to settle. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and like. It really helps me out.